Welcome back to another powerful episode of Personal Mastery Training. I'm Alvin Brown, and today we have an incredible conversation lined up for you. Dr. Charlie and Raymond are diving into a question that's critical for success in any area of life. How do you differentiate yourself? In a world where everyone is trying to be the best, the real game changer is becoming the only one, unique, authentic, and irreplaceable. They'll explore why being nice is more than just good manners. It's a strategic advantage, how to recognize when you're struggling, and why seeking help from a mentor or coach can be the key to unlocking your full potential. This episode is filled with insightful strategies and mindset shifts to help you stand out, make an impact, and build a life that's truly your own. So, get ready, take notes, and let's jump into episode 227.
So, welcome to the Personal Mastery Alliance. Dr. Charlie here, and my co-host Ray. Thanks for being here, brother.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Let's change the name to Raymond.
Love it.
We're back.
I love it. So Ray brought up an interesting topic, and it has to do with business, but I think also it has to do with life, and it's differentiation. And in business, that's really important. People are looking to do business with you. One of the questions is, well, why should I do business with you versus company A, company B, or company C? And so the answer is how we've differentiated ourselves from the crowd, right? But then if you think about it from a personal standpoint, it applies as well. We were laughing about this earlier, but I know people have 1,000 Facebook friends, 20,000 Facebook friends, whatever that number is, but how many true friends do you have? Well, when you really talk about that, people that you spend time with, people that you communicate every week with, people that you could pick up your phone and call in the middle of the night, and if you had an emergency and they would respond, all of a sudden that list gets very, very narrow. Well, how do you attract those kind of friends? You differentiate yourself, right, from the crowd, because again, they're in the same boat. They only have so much bandwidth, and they probably only have enough time for a handful of friends. So do you want to be one of them? Differentiate yourself. So with that, I will pass the mic.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. Glad to be back. And as you said, it's so true that one way or another, we are all the same, but we're not. Okay, but we're simply not. Okay, and I'll read you this wisdom, as Alvin always says. It's written here by Margaret Mead. She wrote, "Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else." Okay, you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else. So, what are we talking about exactly? Is that we are all made in some way in the same image, but we are all very different and unique. We've been given specific skills, a specific mind, a way to think, a way to move. And the more I believe that we use these things and refine them and put them out into the world and differentiate ourselves, we create new paths. We create new paths and we can contribute on a whole new uh, level. So, again, I've been having a lot of these conversations this week just on the business side. But when I translate that to our everyday life, it's so true. You have certain people, when you look at them, okay, they always seem to be on the offense. What I mean by that is that they innovate, okay? They innovate in business, they don't stand still, they create. And when they're done creating, they realize that the market is catching up and people are starting to copy here and there. And I cannot get comfortable. I'm really in this game to continually innovate, and this is what separates me. Okay, but as human beings, as leaders, fathers, mothers, friends, it doesn't matter. From the moment you are born to the moment that you go back into the ground, there's not one moment where you're exactly the same either. You continually evolve whether you like it or not. It's just made that way, right? You evolve. Well, what if we started becoming even that much more intentional about it? We don't just let time have an effect on that, but we use everything that we have and we really focus on that word evolution, evolving. There's no limit to our potential as we know. Okay. How can we use what we have and really put it forward to completely differentiate ourselves, walk to the beat of our own drums, maybe show someone else something they never thought of. Okay. In every conversation that we have, again, there's a lot of books that I read. There's a lot of books that Charlie reads. Some of the books that he read, I've read, but then he says certain things I haven't necessarily thought about, and vice versa. Well, this is how we can contribute to each other when we put our full uniqueness on display by just walking this path of always looking to evolve and ultimately differentiating ourselves. Everyone wins from that. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Great thoughts, Ray. And that wisdom, when you said it, it sparked another one in my mind, and I found it. I don't have the author of this quote, but it's in a similar vein. It says, being the best is great. You're number one. Being unique is greater. You're the only one. Right? And it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think having the courage to be uniquely you, just having the courage to do that, and not, because the tendency of human nature is to fit in and be a copy versus being a unique version. And it's so interesting that even twins, right? People that are identical twins, they don't have the same fingerprints, right? They're still unique. And so that's true of every human being. And just having the courage to embrace who we are, knowing that we're going to be some people's cup of tea and we're not going to be other people's cup of tea. And that's okay too. It's okay. Right. But when we try to, hey, I want to please everyone. I want to fit in. But when you fit in, you blend in and you don't stand out. Right. And you just get lost in that crowd. But when you think about your favorite restaurant, think about it. There's something unique about their food or their service or both, right? Your favorite car, there's something unique about it. This stands out. Your favorite musician or singer, there's something unique about their sound. That's why you like them, right? So it's interesting that as human beings, we love that, but then we don't necessarily embrace that. And when we embrace that, that's how we can really improve. And that's the other beauty of life. Like Ray was saying, you're constantly learning, so you're constantly evolving, so you're constantly changing. And so you're unique in 2025, but in 2026, you have the power to be unique in a different way, and maybe even in a better way, which is pretty outstanding. So one of the things I want to dive into about differentiating ourselves, I think a big one, I would move it near the top, if not at the top of level of importance. Your attitude. Your attitude. It's so important. And I can't speak for other countries, right? Because I live in the States. But in the States, if you are kind and you're caring and you're helpful of and with people, you're going to stand out in a positive way. And because I think it's lacking in our culture in so many places now. And it seems like that's happening more and more. So if you are people a person that speaks to people kindly and respectfully and are there to help, you are going to differentiate yourself, because human beings, even though there may be a lot of negativity, human beings gravitate to positivity, right? And the people that you want to attract in your life are the positive ones. And so when you have a positive attitude and you're kind, you're going to attract people to yourself that are positive and kind. And then you're going to differentiate yourself from the others. So in my business, I tend to find people want to do business with others that are friendly and amiable and easy to work with, right? And if you're not easy to work with, then they don't they won't call you back, they won't hire you, because you're hard to work with. So it's interesting. When I was growing up, I was taught, especially by my grandmother, the importance of being kind and respectful, and as just a way to live and a way to be. But I never thought that as I was growing up that it would be a differentiator, as big a differentiator as it's become. I just assumed that, hey, everybody would behave that way, and then there would have to be other things that you'd have to do to be able to win in business or win in life. But um, when you're kind and you've got a great attitude, you've already won in business and in life. With that, I'll pass the mic.
I love that. Just something as simple as being kind, you know, as being kind, as being nice, because it's so easy to be the opposite, right? It's so easy to be the opposite, and it leads me again, same conversation, but I was speaking to a coworker, and again about differentiating ourselves, and when you always, let's say, think differently, even if it's just with your attitude, okay, first and foremost, you can be sure that, let's say, business wise, your competition is probably isn't doing the same, isn't doing that. Okay. If you really, really dive in to it 100%, simply doing that differentiates you. Okay. Because it's not easy to be truly consistent. It takes intentionality, it takes effort just to focus on these little easy principles. Because again, by default, it's so easy to do the opposite. Okay. It's so easy to overlook that, think it's not so important, right? So just that definitely puts you in a position to win. Sorry about the yelling, guys. As you know, I got the little ones. Probably just woke up. Okay. So, and as you were speaking, Charlie, I wrote something down. I wrote this down, okay, from your words. I said, be humble enough to not think that you're superior to anybody. Be confident enough to not see yourself as inferior to anybody, and be aware enough to see the magic that you bring and the uniqueness that you have. Okay, the uniqueness that you have. We need everybody. Okay, we really do. As you know, Charlie, you played football. There's not one position who's the same. There's not one. Okay, but we absolutely need everybody. Same thing in life, same thing in business. You don't have to be Dr. Charlie Cartwright. You don't have to be Raymond. You don't have to be Alvin. You have to be you, and who you are is needed. Okay, it's needed to somebody, and it's needed for the whole collective also, because we're linked somewhere somehow. I keep saying it. I talk about my little ones, but I truly believe, and I see it in many instances all the time, that the more good that I put into the world comes back to me. Okay, comes back to me, whether directly to me, whether to my friends, my family, ultimately, maybe when I'm gone, to my children. It does. Okay, because if I impacted someone in some way, there's this effect of reciprocity where human beings, we want to do good. Somebody will probably try their best to be a great leader and impact my sons, one day. So I've won. What I put out actually came back. And that's so important, just by being you, differentiating yourself, and really understanding that who you are, whether you think you're that person that can answer the call or you're not, is needed. Okay, you are needed exactly the way you are. And last thing, there are different phases of life also, as we know. And in certain moments, you might be a specific person, but just with the right attitude and the right things that you put forward, you can be a totally different person in a different phase of life. Okay, you transform completely. And what I love about this, guys, is that nothing that we talk about really takes talent. It's not about talent. It's figuring out what are these little things that just through sheer effort, determination, focus, discipline can yield great results. And then it comes down to the decision of walking that path or not. You know. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
I love it. And something you said there, Ray, I focused on, you were talking about really not feeling, just feeling self-aware and self-confident, but not feeling like, hey, I'm better than this person or that person, right? And I think that's so important as well when we're talking about differentiating ourselves. And again, it reminded me of another wisdom. And and that wisdom is this. It says a flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms, right? Just blooms. I mean, we're right around the corner here. So February, so March. So we're about a month away, and spring, March, the weather or change quite a bit here, and you'll start to see some early daffodils coming up, and the grass will start turning green, and it'll be the sign that, hey, the seasons are changing. And it's so true when you think about flowers. I love all types of flowers, you know, but they're all beautiful in their different ways. And again, they're just blooming. And it's such a great example is that just bloom where you are and as who you are, right? As a human being. And that's enough. It's always enough. You never look at a flower and say, oh, that color's not enough or that bloom's not enough. It's beautiful. And you're amazed at that one plant. And it's amazing. There's a lady in our neighborhood that she's got this big garden. It's not a vegetable garden. I mean, there might be some vegetables in there. I haven't looked that close to it, but it's mostly a flower garden, right? She has all these flowers, and when they start blooming, and she has all these things, then she sets up a little tray, right? There's a little tray in her yard, right on the corner, and there's a sign, free flowers. And she'll put out a handful of mason jars, and there's flowers and there's little bouquets in there. And again, there he is. There he is. And good to see you, buddy. But there's bouquets, and you can go and grab one. And so I always look, and there's one sitting out there, and it's always Sunday mornings when she does it. And I'll pull it over and set it on the table. Man, look, two champions, three champions on the screen. I love it. But I will set that on my kitchen table. And all week, I'm just amazed that the beauty of those flowers, they last about a week. And every one of those bouquets she puts out is unique, right? And it's just such a small thing that makes a big difference in the neighborhood, right? And so I think, again, that's something that she does. No one else in the neighborhood does it. So it's unique and it differentiates her from all the rest of my neighbors. I have nice neighbors on either side of me, but she's across the street and on the corner. But the neighbors beside me don't put flowers out every week, but they're unique in their own way too, and it's pretty awesome. So with that, I'll pass the mic. Man, he's getting big.
Yeah, yeah, he's getting big.
Both
He's
those
getting
guys are
big.
getting big, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
both of the guys, big
yeah,
boys.
you got some in
Uh,
the water there, Montreal, because I was like, he was like he was just a baby, then your little guy was your big guy was his size, and now
they're doing work. They're doing work.
he's
Yeah.
he's balling, he's basketballing up there and doing all these things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, they're doing the work. They're doing what they need to do. I
yeah,
love this story and analogy about the flower that you talked about. Uh, just how how the flower just blooms by itself. And I read this quote, and it was talking about dopamine, right? And everyone has one of these now, okay? And it's so easy to just have this hit of dopamine and just swipe that phone over, go to social media and start comparing. And this person has this, and they're doing that, and they're doing that. When really, in the end, happiness, no soccer, please. No. Happiness is really about, man, get some fresh air, you know, be around people that you love. Look at yourself in the mirror, see how awesome that you are. Contribute, be kind. It's really as simple as that in the end, right? And we don't need this for that. We just need to bloom. When I think about the flower, also, what I find very interesting is that the flower blooms, but ultimately every flower also fades away at some point, and will be gone. But while it was there, the impact that it made, just the beauty that it had, just by being what it was meant to be, what it was supposed to be, was that worthwhile, and affected something, in its path, in its way. And our lives are really like that, where we're so focused sometimes on everything that's external, and that doesn't go well so much, and we forget that while we're here, everything that we do can literally have an impact on almost eternity. We don't know. It connects us all in a way that's very deep, and it can really, really, really make a difference. Oh, actually, this is what I said. Being different is how we make a difference. It's really how we make a true difference is simply by being different. And being ourselves is exactly that. By fully being yourself, you're being different and you're making a difference. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
a great quote. I'm writing it down.
Right.
Being different is how we make the difference. Yeah, I think that statement you made earlier about the things that we do having such a impact well into the future. That was a wisdom from Marcus Aurelius that said, what we do in life echoes in eternity. It's true, right? Echoes in eternity. I mean, how long has he been gone? We're still talking about Marcus Aurelius, right? And the wisdoms that he left, they echo in eternity. So I love that being different is how we make a difference. And that's one of Alvin's 4 C's that we talk about, courage. It takes courage to make a difference. And but when we do that, when we decide to do that and decide to be uniquely ourselves, then we live our fullest life. We live our best life because we're being true to ourselves. And that is so important because I think it's hard to be truly happy if we're not being true to ourselves, true to who we are, true to what we believe. We don't get caught up in any fancies. And so you talked about that dopamine hit as well. And yesterday, I had a friend that wasn't feeling well, so I went and grabbed some like chicken noodle soup and like a little care package and ran it over there. And when I was on my way home, I went past I noticed the Cheesecake Factory. You guys have Cheesecake Factory up there? So I'm like, we haven't had a slice of cheesecake and I can remember. So it's probably been 2 or 3 months. So I pull in there and I grabbed a couple pieces of cheesecake for me and my son. So I went and ordered it, used the restroom, and I came out and wait until they, they call my order. But I was just looking around, I was standing there waiting, and the restaurant was busy. I was, it was, it was between dinner and lunch, but they were still really busy. And there were so many people waiting to get in the restaurant, but there's other people waiting to get their carryout orders. And I was just surprised. I was standing there, and about probably 80% of the people were just doing this and oblivious to the other human beings that are around them. And I was thinking, when that happens, we miss out on so much, right? I mean, this isn't going anywhere. Okay, so that'll be available when you're by yourself, but you're surrounded by people. Why not interact with them? Why not have a conversation? Your next door neighbor could be 3 people down and you wouldn't know it because you're on your phone, or a relative or a friend or a coworker. So, and sometimes you'll have an interesting conversation with a stranger and you might learn something that you didn't previously know. And so I was always open, and no one made eye contact or anything. I was able to say hello to 4 people that I wouldn't have been able to say hello to if I hadn't had my head down like that. But I think, again, I'm always looking to connect and communicate, and that's a differentiator, right? Whether I'm in an airport or at a train station, or doesn't matter. Well, there's other human beings around. I'm interested, and I've gotten nuggets of wisdom for people that I'd never met before and haven't seen since. And then those things are things that'll help me for the rest of my life. But not being open to those lessons and those conversations, I would have missed out on part of my evolution. So, where I'm at today, I'm really um, grateful for. However, it wouldn't be possible without differentiating myself in a way that makes me approachable, right? I mean, people, I think, overall would like to have information that would help them live a better life, live a more successful life or more productive life. And in order to get that information, we're going to have to go out and get it, read, research, those kind of things. However, if we're approachable, people will bring it to us. People will bring it to you. And again, that's another way you can differentiate yourself from the crowd. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Being approachable, on the other side also is going out and seeking, also going out and seeking. As we all know, information can be there, but if we don't take the first step, if we don't go out, and try to seek it and just ask the question, hey, I don't know, or I'm curious, why is that? Then we're missing out. We're missing out. And you know what? We are also different and unique in our own way. That one of the things I find um, the most fun in life, honestly, one of the things I enjoy the most in life is having conversations with people I haven't met before. Or, as Alvin always says, be very aware that sometimes familiarity brings, what does he say? Familiarity brings
Contempt.
content.
Yeah.
Content. So get to know the people that you feel that you know on an even deeper level. Okay. Because there are more and more and more layers because those people are evolving. You know, I find that awesome. I've met you probably close to 4 years ago now, Charlie. 3, 4 years ago. You're not the same. You're not the same guy. You are still Dr. Charlie, but you're a different guy, and this keeps going. So take the time to continually get to know people on a deeper level, and because there's so much uniqueness in the world, man, go out and seek. Be curious. Be curious. Just by going out of your house every single day, going to the coffee shop, you can learn something you never thought about in your entire life. It can completely change your perspective. I have an Hawaii shirt. Okay, my parents-in-law just came back from a trip to Hawaii. It's their second time over there, and they learn so many things every time they go there. Okay, I've never been to Hawaii, but they gave me the shirt, and I said, "Hey, that's the Rainbow Warriors. I know about the Rainbow Warriors." A few years back, I was just helping out a kid from my own town, get a scholarship to a University of Hawaii, talking to people at admissions over there, using my background to help him and his family. There's a connection there, even though I've never been there, right? So just by having conversation, you open up your whole world. You expand your horizons, and serves you this definitely serves you and serves a lot of people around you. So just by my experience going to school down in Colorado, like before we even started this call, you talked about Fort Collins, right, Charlie? And I remember going to this restaurant in Fort Collins. I believe it was Sonny Lubbock, a former football coach there. We went to his restaurant, and I had a lot of guys on my team that went down to Hawaii. And as I got that came from Hawaii, and as I got to know them and built these forever friendships where 15 years down the road, a kid from my own town, is being recruited over there. There's a lot of advice that I have from. There's a lot of people I can connecting with just because I was curious enough. I sought out these people and they sought me out too. They sought me out too. So we expanded both of our horizons on each side. I believe this is also a big part of the equation in this life. And also in business, you can be all alone, all by yourself. See how far you go, doing that. Or if you seek out, you get information, you open up, you innovate, you push boundaries, but you're humble enough, you connect yourself, then that's when great things happen, and that's when it becomes exponential. So yeah, man, I want an exponential life. I believe a lot of people, a lot of us want that too, and it really starts just by being yourself, but most importantly, being unique, but seeing the uniqueness in others and appreciating it and seeking it out, being curious enough to go find it out, to go learn it, to go learn it. Yeah, and I'll pass the mic.
I love it. So you reminded me of a story, and this is such a great example of everything we've been talking about, differentiating yourself, seeking out, right? Taking the initiative to get better and to evolve, but also interacting with other people. So I was in Boston and was headed back to the airport. And I remember I was just gonna run out there and catch a cab. This is before I was a big Uber fan. I was gonna run out there and catch a cab, and this guy was standing out in front of the hotel, and he had a, black SUV. And he's like, "Sir, you need a ride? Need a lift?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was just gonna grab a taxi." He's like, "Hey, I'm Uber Black. Let me give you a rate." And so I'm like, he was already there, and I'm like, "Let's go." So very nice SUV, and I jump in, and we're heading down the road, and he said, and I said, "Well, hey, how are you?" He said, "Before you start talking," he said, "I just have a few questions, if that's okay." And he's like, "What do you do for a living?" Right? And so I told him, I was a professional speaker. And he told me his story that he started driving for Uber. He came from a different country. He started working in a kitchen in a hotel restaurant, and then kind of moved his way up from washing dishes to being one of the cooks, and then moved into, wanted his own business, moved into driving, and he was driving a regular Uber, and he was people would take these short trips which didn't make a lot of money, and then they would call and complain. They would send that message, "Oh, this wasn't right." There were always people trying to beat him out of his fares, he felt like. So anyway, he made a decision to switch over to Uber Black. Well, now he's got a executive class of people riding in his vehicle. So he started listening to the conversations they were having, right? People making business deals, making decisions. So he starts asking questions. And so now, fast forward, the gentleman had, I want to say, he drove one of the vehicles, he had six others, and then he also had cabs. So he was an entrepreneur, but he said he built
Yeah,
a business talking to people in the back seat
for sure.
because they love
For
what
sure.
they do, and they would tell him. He'd ask him, "Well, how'd you do this and how'd you do that?" And they would tell him, and he would like take them. And so whenever we got to a stoplight and he's asking me questions, he would like pull out his pad and like take notes. And so when we got to the airport, he's like, "Okay, let me just finish. Let me ask you one more." And he was like taking these notes while we're at the airport. And then he jumps out and grabs my bags and everything. And I thought to myself, man,
Mm.
in this world, it's not a lack of resources, it's a
No.
lack of resourcefulness, right?
Yeah.
How resourceful is that? He didn't have to go to the library. I got my education in the back seat. All these
Mm.
executives, I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna instead of just and he differentiated himself, right? Instead of just
Yeah.
driving to there and that's it. He's making use of that entire trip. He was at and he asked me, and I'm big on company culture and leadership. So he's asking me some questions about leading
Mm.
his teams, and he was a union representative. I mean, there's just so much stuff that he was doing, and it was really impressive, but it was fun because I got to share. I love what I'm talking about, love what I do anyway, so I got to share some expertise, and he's taking notes. And so there were people that would see someone like that and say, "Oh, he's so lucky that he came to this country and now he owns multiple businesses." Luck has nothing to do with it, right?
No.
Worked his tail off, resourceful, and leveraging all the resources that are available, right?
Mm.
And then having the courage, I mean, to ask questions. And I'm sure some people don't want to talk, that's true too. But just keep asking because you'll meet people like me. And I remember one of the issues he had, I helped him solve it in the cab because it's like right,
Mm.
right in my wheelhouse. And he
Wow.
was like, "Hey, in my union, I have Palestinians, I have Israelis. I mean, these people don't
Mm.
normally get along." And he named all these different cultures. He says, "How do I unite the people?" Well, that's my wheelhouse.
Mm.
So I'm like, "All right,
Mm.
here's you." Boom, 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 boom. He's like writing
Wow.
notes. And that was such a great conversation, but I'll never forget it. And so again, it's just another way we can differentiate ourselves and whatever struggles. And I
Mm.
always say this. whatever you're struggling with, and if you're listening to this podcast, there's something that you're struggling with. There's something.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. There are people that have overcome whatever it is you're
Mm.
struggling with. And you have access to the internet. Find out, find them, find the group, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you about how they overcame it. More than happy, because they know what it's like to go through that struggle and how important it is to overcome it. But as human beings, what we tend to do is keep to ourselves and continue to struggle, right?
Yeah.
Just silently continue to struggle instead of
Yeah.
reaching out for someone that will really willingly help you from the back seat, figuratively, or come alongside you. So with that, I'll
Yeah.
pass the mic.
Or sometimes, um, I believe, it's not the type of help that we want. You know, sometimes we've been given great information from a backseat, but hey, I wanted the meeting, I wanted this, I wanted that. Hey, that person's busy, that person's in a different place, but they just help you. Are you willing to take the help? Are you willing to change your perspective? Because that's another thing, and it could be a whole other conversation, but it's not exactly the way that I wanted it. It's not exactly what I wanted to hear right now. That's another problem, let's say, okay? Because that's why the word humility is so important. Humility is so important because as much as, yes, we're all together, no one owes you anything or no one owes us anything. And Charlie, you talked about being kind, contributing, being nice, and how everyone gravitates towards that. If we all do anything, let's just start by doing that. Okay. Because this opens up doors. This opens up doors, for connection and for what's next after. Even when I look at that taxi cab driver, I think it's so interesting. It's a great example for all of us again, because as much as you helped him, of course, and he's been curious and he sought out and he asked the question, no matter where we're at in our journey, we can all learn from each other because sometimes when you're at a certain level and you're dealing with certain things, seeing the guy who's starting out, seeing the guy who's asking questions inspires you and teaches you to focus on the principles, the principles. Am I myself asking the right questions? Am I myself still being that resourceful, still being when I have the resources, right? That's another really important thing that hey, you can see just walking down the street by looking at someone. So when your eyes are truly open to learn and you're a lifelong learner, man, all these lessons are all around to be seen. And that's the cool part. We all contribute to each other, you know, one way or another for sure. And I think that's really the awesome part about it and how it shows that just by being you and truly being an original where you're at, hey, you never know who's watching, one, and never know the type of effect it has and on who you will be surprised. You will be surprised. It shows of your importance, of all of our importance at the same time. And it's this paradox, right? Where don't take yourself too seriously, but you do have importance. Okay, you do have importance, and never forget it. And it's balancing both of these things. And another quick example, just this week, I've my mother sent me information about the independence of Cameroon. I'm from Cameroon, and it's something I've been studying a lot, over the past few years. But information's coming out that, let's say, some of the atrocities that were made while the country was really fighting for its independence. Okay, for independence. My tribe is called the Basas, and they fought. They really fought a lot around the front lines to free the country. basically. And as you see, the type of atrocities that came out, then it hit me because I realized, hey, my grandparents and great grandparents went through that stuff. They went through that stuff. There are stories where my grandfather on my mother's side disappeared for like a full year. He was being very vocal about stuff and he disappeared for like a full year. And he was found later, but he never discussed, never discussed what had happened. Okay, so with all of that, I see that Cameroon is an independent country now. I see that I'm living the life I'm living. And when you were still alive, and I went back there and I brought my wife, who's Canadian, Caucasian, Canadian, just the way she was welcome, the way they were looking at it with so much love. When they lived through unimaginable hate, and pain, but their courage has allowed for great things, to happen. This paradox always hits me because I'm like, man, it could be so easy for them to just hate all white people, let's say, but that's not how they see it at all, at all. And I think that's a great reminder every single day. When I take certain things way too seriously, and I remind myself of their perspective, their courage, and their love. Of not putting anyone in the same boat, of uh, focusing on the right battles, having purpose, things like that. And we all have examples. I mean, you live in the U.S., Charlie, and man, there's a lot of heroes on all fronts, that we can definitely learn from. And again, they stood for something, but they were fully themselves. They were fully themselves. And that's like the greatness of the human spirit, in my opinion. We all have that greatness in us. We do. We can be like the song, we can be heroes, even if it's for one day. Whatever that means to you, where's the hero in you? How can it come up? Yeah,
Powerful, powerful, powerful way to wrap up the podcast today. The great Maya Angelou said this. She said, "Hate's never solved one problem,
yeah,
not one." She says, however, on the other hand, love, right? Love is undefeated. It is, right? So I think that love is invincible.
yeah, it is.
And, people can push it away. People can try to silence it. People can try to stop it, but it's unstoppable. It's unsilenceable. Silenceable. It's invincible. And it always comes out of the rubble, always comes out of the ashes. It always survives. And once again, it will at some point thrive. So, what a
Well,
great session today. What a great
yeah,
session today. Really grateful.
yeah.
Really grateful. Yeah. Really grateful. So, what's your word for the week?
I'll take it from you, Charlie. I have to say love. I have to say love. Uh, First by loving yourself, loving yourself, loving others, and loving this great gift we've been given just to be here. Live our lives, man. Live our lives. There's so much wonder. There's so much, and I need it when I use these words, man. Magic. There. This life, man, is something truly special. Let us not forget that. Let us not forget that. in every single moment. And let's spread love. That's where it starts. You talk about being kind, being nice. How about, man, we start with loving, you know? Whenever I get out the house, man, do I exemplify love? Whatever that means, good things will happen. I truly believe that.
Well, I'm gonna make an unusual move. I'm gonna concur. I'm gonna use the same word because I think you summed it up perfectly. You summed it up perfectly, and there's not one person on the planet that can't use more of it, right? Not one.
Mm,
So leading with love, that's the
yeah,
key to the kingdom. So very
for sure.
awesome. So as we say,
Awesome.
I'm gonna leave the audience with peace,
Peace,
love,
love,
and so
and so
yeah.
appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Charlie, for a great conversation.
Thank you as well. Thank you as well.